Hello everybody, my name is Moshe Zadka, my website is cobodism.com, and today I want to talk to you about DevPI, the tool you never knew you needed. I do want to start with an acknowledgement of country. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. It is the ancestral homeland of the Muweka Ohlone people, and much of the story that I'm going to talk to you about happens at Camp Tawanga, which is the ancestral homeland of the Central Sierra Miwok people. And as I already spoiled, this story starts in Camp Tawanga. Camp Tawanga is a beautiful, beautiful summer camp. And after the summer is done, for families with kids who are a little bit too young to go to summer camp on their own, they have what they call family summer camp during the school year on some weekend. And that's great. You get, as you can see in the picture, to go on this beautiful lake with your kids, go on the pedal boat. The kids absolutely love it. But there's one thing that's even better than that, which is, as you can see in the pictures on the bottom, for some part of the time, the kids all hang out by themselves doing fun things that one would do in a summer camp with the camp counselors. And we, the parents, have time to ourselves to do whatever we want. And especially at that time, my kids were a bit young. I didn't have a lot of free time for myself during the weekend. So this seemed like, wow, what am I gonna do with all that time? This is great. So as one would, I decided I'm gonna work on some open source stuff. Get some, like every normal person. Great. So there's only one problem with that. Camp Tawanga doesn't have Wi-Fi. In fact, it doesn't even have wired internet. And it's kind of in the middle of Yosemite Park, which to anyone who's ever visited there, you would know that it does not have any cellular connectivity. So no internet, no connection with the outside world, which is actually, great to kind of work on stuff without interruptions. But the best thing about working in Python, as I do, and I'm sure many of you do, is that you get to use the awesome PyPI, right? You get so many packages. I don't remember how many packages were there, probably a few 100,000. I haven't checked lately about how many packages are now, probably over 1 million, but I haven't checked recently. A lot is a good approximation, right? And like, you need the packages, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need some local package cache. And for many months now at that point, I resisted installing DevPI. I'm like, why would I ever need it? I'll always have internet, but the best laid plans. And I was gonna not have internet, and finally my friends broke me down. I'm like, fine, I install PyPI. So it's pretty easy. I created a virtual environment dedicated for that, as I do for most of the things I care about, because virtual environments are pretty cheap. I created a virtual environment called DevPI. I pip installed it. I started a server. That's pretty much it. Now, if you look at the official documentation, you can see how to integrate it with systemctl and a bunch of things. But this is a modern laptop in, this was in probably 2017, 2018. Now we live in the year 2020. It's a modern laptop in kind of like modern times. I pretty much never restarted, right? I always like hibernate it and hibernate it off, right? Hibernate off, right? Like if I have it running in some terminal, it's actually pretty convenient. I can kind of see the log file. I'll minimize it if I don't see it in the window. Pretty straightforward. No need to background or do all kinds of complicated daemon manipulation. I have a server up. That's it. I'm good to go. But I'm a very suspicious man. I don't trust things very easily. Definitely not new things that I've never experienced with. I was gonna trust it with how I'm gonna work without internet. I wanted to kind of ramp up the trust slowly. So the first thing I did was okay, I'm going to install just a couple of packages. This is a default index it generates when you just start it up, root / PyPI plus simple. So I pip install -I, a couple of random packages, play with them just to see that they got downloaded correctly, that I don't get like, weird import errors, like what the hell did it try to download, like a broken package with just the headers or just a metadata, whatever. It works. Great. Once, right? That's definitely not enough evidence to say it's going to work again, right? So, cautious optimism. And in the spirit of cautious optimism, my next step, I'm going to make it temporarily my default. So in a terminal, I'm going to export the environment variable. Now, every time I type pip in this terminal, it's going to use DevPI. If for some reason it doesn't work, I can just literally just access the shell and I'm good to go. So this is great, right? And everything is awesome. And, like I tried, I played with it a bunch of times, right? Like by now, it's the default, right? So everything I run under that is going to use that environment variable. That's my main development terminal. So, like I would see if it's causing a problem. And, like after a few days, if it doesn't cause a problem, I decide like it's time to, make a firm commitment. So, and by firm commitment, I mean, let's put it in the pip.conf. Now, like many of you, I'm sure, I didn't have a pip.conf before that. Pip works pretty well without any configuration. Just grabs the package, installs it, everything works, right? But, obviously to direct it through DevPI, you do need to configure it. Pretty easy, right? I probably did it with VI, not with cat, but you literally could copy paste that command and it would work, right? Simple, easy. Now I don't have to think about it. I can close the terminals. I can, create new terminals and whatever, run shells, new shells, old shells, whatever, and everything works. And again, this all helps, packages get downloaded. But do I really trust it, right? Like, like how much packages am I going to download every day, right? Like, am I going to download everything I need before I go out of network range and I'll have nothing? So kind of scary, right? Better prepare. So I did what any normal person would do. I ran Tox, right? Here's an example of running Tox in Twisted. Literally just cd run. I don't even care if it succeeds, right? All I care is that it kind of goes and builds all the virtual environments with all the packages it gets from PyPI, right? And then, you care about other things. Just anyway, you'll have to git clone them to be able to work. It's out of network range, run Tox, a few more Toxes, and we're good to go, right? Like, again, doesn't matter if it succeeds or fails. All you need is just to download all the packages that you need. And again, it doesn't matter if you save them, because all you want is to hit DevPI as hard as possible before you go out of range, so that it's gonna get as much of the things you need day to day out of PyPI. So this is great. This works great. And I got to Camp Tuanga. I managed to actually do work. I think I fixed a ticket in Twisted. It was a while ago, so I don't remember what the ticket was, but it worked, right? But I know what you're thinking. I'm giving this talk in 2020. Hopefully it will stay in YouTube for a while longer. So for the people in the future and for the people in the present who need a reminder, there's a global pandemic going on. Summer camps, and especially Camp Tuanga is something that, lives the Jewish philosophy of respecting life and prioritizing saving lives. Shut down pretty fast during the pandemic. And, like we're not going to see it open, at least in the near future. Why am I even talking about that? Who cares? Like, we're going to all staying home. We have great networks. What does it matter? Sure, when the pandemic ends, maybe then we can learn about DevPI. But that's not all DevPI can give you, right? So again, like Chem to Anga was like a crisis point. I had to install it. Now I had it installed, I had it running. Let's figure out how I can use it to do more stuff. So turns out one of the cool things you can do is build yourself a little private area, a little private PyPI that you can use for all kinds of things. Now, what can you use it? Well, let's say that you have a package. And let's say that's the last time you install the package. And I'm definitely not talking about my embarrassment and my experience. This was definitely someone who is not me. Let's call him Moshe, who uploaded a package, and as soon as the people tried to pre-install it, didn't work. And that was embarrassing for the other person who's not me. And I want to make sure that I will never be embarrassed in that way. What do? Well, we can do a test upload. Sure, it does test PyPI, but it's kind of annoying. And for example, uploading the same package again to test PyPI will not work because it's like PyPI and you can't upload the same package to PyPI, right? So if you think you're gonna make a mistake, and again, I would never make a mistake, but some other people might make a mistake. You might, if you don't know how to avoid mistakes as well as me, then you might need to upload the same package more than once until you get it right. So DevPI works great, right? You don't even have to go outside, and you can tear it down and you can build multiple. So here I'm building a little private area that backends into the root PyPI, which is really important because what if your package has dependencies? And your package has dependencies probably, unless you're very, very, very careful and like a bit focused on that, let's say. Let's first test it like, there's no package, right? I haven't uploaded my package and I try to print it. This is great, right? Because this means that it doesn't exist on PyPI, because if it didn't exist in a private area but would have existed on PyPI, of course it would install. So this is great. This makes sure that I've actually remembered to increase the version number. And again, I'm not saying I have ever made the mistake of forgetting to increase the version number, but some other people who are definitely not me might have done that mistake. So easy to test it first. Okay, but that's an easy test to do. You could have done it with PyPI, so not a big deal. But then I upload, just like Twine, obviously with a custom repo and a custom user and a custom password, which doesn't have to be very secure because it's only on localhost, and who cares? So 1, 2, 3. If you do want to care, you can of course do more secure things with a password. And then, of course, when I try to pip install it, it didn't fail. It didn't succeed because I forgot to put readme md in the manifest. I usually use readme rst, and I forgot that readme rst while goes there, and by default readme md does not. This was a package that was not mandated by me, and but again, like, this is just between me and my computer, right? Like, the world outside doesn't know that I made this, like, snafu. So I can keep face, let's say, in front of my friends and colleagues, and real quick, fix that, like fix my manifest.in, upload it again. Notice I can upload the same version again because it's just DevPI, and you can mark something as you can't upload to that again, but by default those test areas you can just re-upload to them, right? Because they're not supposed to be like long-term persistent or have all these really good guarantees that that PyPI will give you. So let's see if it works. It works. I can import. Great, right? And in real life, again, unless you've really gone to great lengths to automate your package creation and upload, you're probably gonna make a few more mistakes. Let's be very frank. It's pretty nice to be able to do those mistakes in private a few times. And if you are automating the upload, you definitely want to make sure that while you're working on automation, you're doing that, right? So regardless of which path you're gonna take, this is a good way forward. Now, let's say that you have a few packages that you all want to make sure all work together. Sure, not ideal. Ideally, packages have, but sometimes it happens. Maybe you're not uploading to the real PyPI. Maybe you're uploading them just to kind of your friends and colleagues. It's an internal proprietary package or whatever. Want to make sure that a bunch of these versions work together. Then you can do that. Just you can make an integration area, and again upload from the current area to the integration area. So this is pretty cool, right? You can kind of test a bunch of packages independently and then check if they integrate well. So this is pretty great, right? You're again, like, you still have to figure out some development workflow, but now you have support for a lot of bits that you would need to support to get a good workflow. And finally, one of the best things is, so I started the talk while saying I'm installing DevPI on my laptop, and my laptop, as always, is just a laptop. You can, again, integrate it with systemctl, actually run it on some server that run on your cloud provider or whatever. You can run it in Kubernetes with the right settings. You have a bunch of options. It doesn't matter really at the end of the day. You can just run your DevPI and figure out some sort of usually you have anyway a VPN. If you don't want a VPN, you can always put it behind some username password proxy or whatever, and you have a shared DevPI. And this is great, right? Because now for the packages, again, you want to only share with your colleagues, you have a DevPI, and you backend your local DevPI to that DevPI, so you don't have to configure pip, you don't have to make sure that every talk doesn't override the version of pip with a -minus index. It just works against your DevPI and everything works great. And if the upstream ever changes, just change the upstream. You don't have to worry about that. So this gives you a great area to share with your colleagues. And while it doesn't scale to PyPI level, and possibly doesn't scale if your company is, I don't know, Microsoft or Facebook or whatever, it scales for quite a while. As long as it's like just going to be one person managing that, because that's all the engineering stuff your company can afford for a shared DevPI. The DevPI will probably scale up to that level, so it scales pretty nicely, and will give you pretty much all you need to actually run like an engineering organization that is layered on top of Python. Of course, now if you take it seriously, right? This is your source of tools for packages. You probably want to make sure you back up. It's pretty easy to back up. Again, it doesn't solve the backup problem for you, nor should it. It's not a backup service. What DevPI knows how to do is how to export the data to a consistent thing. Then you can use whatever backup, in general you use, be it, some backup service or just tarbling random things and sending off to the S3, whatever solution you think is right for your scale and your needs and reliability constraints and so on. But you start with exporting it to the directory, and then you figure out how to back up that directory. I hope that any of you who is in charge of some system that is somehow involved with backing up knows that you need to restore. You need to more than restore. You need to do test restores every now and then. Make sure that, pretend like you had a crash, pretend you have to restore and see that it works. So that's how the restore. Again, like the first step is taking whatever, the S3 bucket or the crash pad, crash plan, or whatever it is, and dumping it into a local directory. And then you can import from that local directory and run a server again. Right? And then, back into that server, right? That's like one of the nice things about like having the ability to configure an upstream for DevPI, and see that you could have worked this way, right? So regardless of like the frequency and how involved your restore exercises are, frequency should be bigger than 0. Whatever it is and however they're planned, this is a good support for that thing. Again, DevPI itself is not a backup solution, but it will support your backup workflow. So, and with that, I want to leave you with some parting thoughts about that. Whether you're out in the woods, experimenting with some open source packages locally, or working in a team, DevPI is a tool that you never knew you needed. Thank you very much for listening to my talk, and I hope you have a great experience the rest of the conference. Goodbye.